The Third Testament, Section 1, The Second Coming of Christ and the Third Time of Revelation. Chapter 6, The Third Testament and the Great Book of Life. The Book of Love, Truth and Wisdom of God. 1. The book of my word is the book of divine and true love, in it you shall find the unchanging truth. Reach for it, and you will find the wisdom that will help you to develop and attain peace in eternity. He who falsifies or alters its meaning will offend, and he who omits or adds a single word that is not in accordance with my perfect teaching will seriously violate my law. 2. Keep this word in its original purity, for it is the most beautiful inheritance that I will leave to man. Write down my teaching and make it known to your fellow men. Keep it faithfully, for you are responsible for this inheritance. 3. Tomorrow man will find in her the essence of my revelation, which will lead him with the light of her teachings into the way of truth. 4. From parents to children these writings will be bequeathed as a spring of living water, whose stream will spring forth inexhaustibly and go from heart to heart. Study in the great book of life, the book of spiritualization, which will explain to you the divine revelations that you have received through the ages. 5. Have I not promised you that every knowledge would be restored to its original truth? Now this is the time that has been announced to you. 6. In truth I tell you, he who reflects on the teachings of my book and fathoms them with a true desire to increase his knowledge will gain light for his spirit and feel me closer to him. 7. The myths of the past and the myths of today will fall, all mediocre and false will fall, for the time will come when you will no longer be able to nourish yourselves by imperfections, and then the Spirit will set out in search of the truth to serve as its only nourishment. 8. In these teachings mankind will find the essence of my revelations, which it has not understood until now for lack of spiritualization. Since ancient times I have entrusted it to you through my messengers and interpreters, but it has served you only to form myths and traditions out of it. Reconsider and study this teaching with reverence and love if you want to spare yourselves centuries of confusion and suffering. But consider that you will not fulfill your task if you are content only with the possession of the book. No, it is to shake you up and teach you if you truly want to be my disciples. Teach with the example, love and helpfulness that I have shown you. 21:8. 9. The book of my teaching consists of the teachings which I dictated to you at this time by means of the human mind. With this book, which mankind will eventually recognize as the Third Testament, you are to defend my divine cause. 10. Mankind knows only the law of the first time and what is written in the First and Second Testaments, but the Third will now unite and rectify what men have falsified for lack of armament and understanding. Mankind will have to study my message so that, penetrating into the core of every word, it may discover one ideal, one truth, one and the same light that will lead it to spiritualization. 348:26. 11. I reveal unto you that which the scientist cannot teach you, because he knows it not. He has slept in his earthly greatness and has not raised himself to me in the desire for my wisdom. 12. The hearts of the clergymen have closed themselves, who in the various sects and religious communities should teach the spiritual knowledge, which is greatness and riches for the spirit. 13. I have seen that the law and the teachings which I bequeathed to mankind in times past have been hidden and replaced by rites, outward cults and traditions. 14. But you who deeply realize that the essence of this word is the same as that which Israel received at Mount Sinai, and which the multitudes heard from the lips of Jesus in the second age, teach with your worship of God and your works that the divine law must not be forgotten for the sake of following foolish traditions that are not conducive to the Spirit. 93, 10-13. 15. I have reminded you of the names of my messengers, by which you have received messages, commandments, prophecies, and teachings. 16. In this way I have united the contents of all past teachings into one teaching. 17. Spiritualism is the legacy in which the three testaments are united in one spiritual book, 265, 62-64. 18. This teaching, called spiritual because it reveals the spiritual, is the way laid out for man, by which he will know his Creator, serve Him, and love Him. It is the book that teaches men to love their father in their own neighbor. Spiritualism is a law that commands the good, the pure, the perfect. 19. The duty to obey this law applies to all, yet it compels no one to fulfill it, because every spirit enjoys freedom of will, so that his struggle and all his deeds may be counted as his own merits when he is judged. 20. Recognize, then, that this teaching is the flame of divine love, which from the first to the last of my children has enlightened all and given them warmth. 236, 20-22. The relationship between the spiritual teaching and the teaching of Jesus. 21. The Spirit is not a theory, it is a practical teaching for both human life and the life of the Spirit. There is no other, more comprehensive and perfect teaching than this. It accompanies you even before you come to earth. It follows you throughout your day's work in this world and merges with your spirit when it returns to its former home. 22. It will not be I who removes the liturgy and traditions from your worship, it will be the spirit of man who involuntarily rises above his old ideas in the face of the need for greater light to illuminate his path of development. Soon man will understand that the only thing he can offer to God is the exercise of love, because love means goodness, mercy, wisdom and justice. 23. Spiritualism does not erase any of the words that Christ once proclaimed. If it did not, he would not be allowed to give himself that name, since he would be opposing the truth. How could this word be against that, since it is the same Master who pronounces it? If you would really penetrate the meaning of this teaching, you would see that my word of today is the explanation of all that I once said. Therefore, mankind of today and that of the future is able to understand more than past generations, and therefore to fulfill the law in a purer, higher and truer way. 24. If you observe your fellow human beings closely in their religious practice, you will see that they are now looking at what was once the object of their worship without inner compassion. The reason for this is that the spirit awakens of its own accord and craves for that which can truly nourish it. This is why I tell you that the outward worship of this humanity is destined to disappear. 283, 27-30. 25. In this humble and simple book, but filled with divine light, people will find the clarification of all their doubts, they will discover the complement of teachings that were only partially revealed in past times, and they will find the clear and simple way to interpret all that is hidden in the ancient texts in the symbol. 26. Whoever, after receiving this spiritual message, convinces himself of the truth of its contents and sets out to fight his desire for sensory impressions, his idolatry and fanaticism, to cleanse his mind and heart of all those impurities, will free his spirit and bring him joy and peace, for now he will be able to fight to win eternity which awaits him. But those who continue in their outward cult practice, who harden themselves to love that which belongs to the world, and who do not believe in the unfolding or development of the Spirit, verily, I tell you, they will remain behind and shed tears when they become aware of their retardation and ignorance. 305, 4-5. The disputes for the sarche of the new word. 27. If my teaching seems so strange to you that you think you have never heard such words although you know me, I tell you that your amazement is the result of your failure to investigate the core of what I revealed to you in times past. Therefore, this teaching may seem strange or new to you, although in reality this light has always been present in your life. 336, 36. 28. My teaching in this as in the second age will shake mankind. The hypocrites will have to deal with truthfulness. Falseness will drop its mask, and truth will shine. The truth will overcome the lie that envelops this world. 29. Man will be able to comprehend and recognize all that contains reason and truth, but all that he has been forced to believe, even if he would not understand it, he himself will reject. Therefore my teaching will spread because it gives off light, which men need. A great part of this work will come to you, in that you reveal to your fellow men its beginning and its purpose. 237, 28-29. The listeners in Mexico. 30. Mankind hungers for my word, for my truth. People desire and long for light for their minds, they call for justice and expect comfort. This is a crucial time. Verily, I tell you, many conceptions, theories, and even dogmas, which have been held for centuries to be truths, will fall to the ground and be rejected as false. Fanaticism and idolatry will be fought and eliminated by those who have been most taken by it and bound to it. The teachings of God will be understood, their light, content and nature will be understood and felt. 31. When, after a time of trials, in which they will suffer very great confusion, there will be light in the minds of scientists, and they will hear the voice of their spirit, they will discover what they never dreamed of. 32. Again I say to you, watch. For in the time of conflict between creeds and doctrines, religions and sciences, many people will think that the knowledge their books have given them will be the weapon with which they can defeat my new disciples, knowing full well that you have no books with you. 150, 11-13. 33. I have told you, disciples, that you will be confronted with the great churches and the lesser sects, but fear neither of the one nor of the other. The truth I have entrusted to you is clear, the word I have taught you is outwardly clear and simple, but in its meaning deep to infinity, and they are powerful weapons with which you will fight and conquer. 34. But I tell you, a people on earth, full of materialism and unbelief, will rise to deny you the right to call you Israel, to deny your testimony of having experienced the renewed coming of the Messiah, and that people is the Jewish one. Have you not thought of them? That nation awaits in its midst the coming of its Messiah, its Savior, who will bring justice to it and set it anew above all the nations of the earth. That people know that I have always come to them, and in this third time they will say, why should God come to another people? 332, 10. 35. This spiritual community here lives unrecognized. The world knows nothing of your existence, the powerful do not take note of you, but the struggle between spiritualists and Christians, between spiritualists and Jews, is approaching. That struggle is necessary for the introduction of my teaching to all mankind. Then the Old Testament will be united with the second and third into a single essence. 36. For many of you this may seem impossible, for me it is the most natural, correct, and perfect. 235, 63-64. The Great Book of True Life. 37. My words shall be written down for all time, out of it you shall compile the book of the third age, the third testament, the last message of the Father, for in all three ages God had his gold feathers to leave his wisdom to mankind. 38. Moses was the first gold feather which the Father used to write the events of the first times in indelible letters on a scroll. Moses was the gold nib of Jehovah. This term refers to those participants in the divine rallies who had the task of writing down the word of the Lord in shorthand. 39. Among my apostles and followers of the second age Jesus had 4 feathers, and these were Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They were the gold feathers of the divine Master. But when the time came in which the First Testament was to be united with the second through bonds of love, knowledge and spiritual progress, a single book was created from it. 40. Now in the third time in which you again have my word, I have likewise appointed gold feathers so that it may be preserved in writing. 41. When the time has come, you will compile a single book, and this book, the book of the third age, will, when the time has come for it, likewise be united with the book of the second and the first times, and then, out of the revelations, prophecies, and words of the 3 times, the great book of life will arise for the edification of all spirit beings. 42. Then shall you know that all words, from the first to the last, have been fulfilled in truth and in spirit, that all prophecies were the anticipated course of history, which the Father revealed to mankind. For God alone can let write down the events that will come to pass. When the prophets spoke, it was not them, but God did it through their mediation. 43. I have given my newly chosen ones sufficient armament, as they had Moses and the 4 disciples of the second time, so that my word would be written down in complete sincerity, in full clarity and truth, for it is for the generations of tomorrow. But if anyone should intend to add anything or delete anything from that book, I will call you to account. This warning refers to the essence, the meaning of the word, not the letters. 44. Now, my beloved children, who attaches importance to the book you are beginning to compile? In truth, nobody. But the time will come when mankind will ask you for your book, full of desire, full of curiosity, and then it will awaken, explore my word and discuss it. In that battle of ideas parties will emerge, scientists, theologians, and philosophers. To the nations the testimony of your word and the book of wisdom will be brought, and all will speak of my teaching. This will be the beginning of the new battle, the war of words, thoughts and ideologies, but in the end, when all have realized in truth and in spirit that the great book of life has been written by the Lord, they will embrace and love one another as brothers, as is my will. 45. Why was not the word of Jehovah in the first time enough to unite the world, nor could the teaching of Jesus in the second? Why was it not enough in that time that I have been giving my word since 1866 for the nations to love one another and live in peace? It is necessary that the three books form one, so that this word may enlighten the whole world. Then mankind will follow that light, and the curse of Babylon will be lifted, because all people will read the great book of true life, all will follow the same teaching and love each other in spirit and in truth as children of God. 358, 5866. 1866 to 1884 The spirit of Elijah spoke about the voice bearers. 1884 to 1950 The Lord himself,